Shalom. This is a continuation of our video series. We're in chapter 23, the Sanhedrin, continuing the series on the day and hour no man knows. So I am not the Sanhedrin, but you can see in the picture, that's a picture from the movie The Passion of the Christ. So basically, in this chapter, it goes over how the moon had to be sighted by two witnesses. But initially, even before that, there was a time when all you needed was one well-respected Jew to provide a witness, and that was deemed as sufficient. That is from Rambam. Rambam wrote about that, saying that just one Jew can be an acceptable witness, but it's only when the followers of Bythos started to lie about the new moon, that's when they changed that rule. So it is a known fact that in the Second Temple period, the Pharisees would examine the witness, the two witnesses minimum of their sighting. So there are various rules as to how to go about it. But essentially, I'm not going to go too much into detail, but essentially what we see historically is that there were two rival courts, and both of these courts required two witnesses. And they had different standards as to how they determined who is reliable and who isn't. So this is the understanding of the prominent religious leadership of the first century, the Sanhedrin. And they had to have two witnesses minimum to sight the moon each month after what happened with the followers of Bythos. So this is undisputable historically. This is well known. So the temple priests and the Pharisees, they agreed on this principle of having two witnesses, although they disagreed on some of the specifics of how who is a reliable witness, who aren't reliable. So let's look at another part of Rambam. It says Rambam taught that what they should do when someone is providing a testimony regarding whether the sighting of the moon had happened, they would prepare a feast, and they would go to a single place, and when those witnesses arrived, they would examine them and ask them specific questions as to determine, whether what their witness is trustworthy or not. And then the second person they would interrogate separately as well, individually, and then they would be able to determine whether what they said lines up with the first witness. So after that, more people could come to bear witness as to the sighting of the moon, but this was just mostly done out of show, just to encourage people to go and report the sighting of the moon regularly. So then, after that, the Sanhedrin would sanctify the new month. They would declare it a new month, especially on the first and seventh months, which are the months of the spring and fall, Moedim. So currently we do have a number of people who do live in Israel, in Jerusalem, and surrounding areas that we rely on through the internet and various means to update us and let us know if they do sight the new moon, and they do that very, very well. They also are searching for the barley at that time, in the spring or before the first month. They do look for that. So these are reliable witnesses. There are many that do report these things, and they are trusted in the community of people who follow the sighted moon calendar. One of them I'll name off the top of my head is Devora Gordon, or Devora. Anyhow, she's one of them. There are other people too, but she's one that I can remember off the top of my head. Who else? Yeah, I think she's probably. There's another one I just escapes my mind at the moment. So we don't have a Sanhedrin right now, but or one that's public at least. I know there's one kind of secretly, but we do have people in Israel and Jerusalem who provide testimony about the new moon, and so that's what we should do. We should obey what Torah says. We sight the moon to determine the first day of the month, specifically or especially the first and the seventh. And this is historical. This has been proven by the many records we have from Rambam that initially it was one witness to sight the moon, and then it became two. And this is the court of the Sanhedrin cannot determine it on their own. They do rely on the two witnesses to faithfully report on a monthly basis. And the current Hillel calendar, just going to add in here, of which all the Jewish holy days are now calculated from, especially, you have modern Judaism, which follows this. It only came into being after the year 358 AD. So 358 AD, and it was only instituted by Rambam in the 11th century. Thank you for watching. Up next is chapter 24. Why is the Feast of Trumpets kept on 2 days? Shalom, and Yah bless you.